Hey everyone, welcome to the Love Your Body podcast. On today's episode, we have my girl Megan Connor. I'm so excited to have you. It's literally been like years.
Yeah, I have
Like,
no idea.
I don't even know either. I was talking with one of my clients that you know,
Yeah.
and she's like, "When's the last time you saw her?" I'm like, I don't even know. Not even out here in these streets. Like, I have not seen you. Like, I have not run into you. So let's real quick before we get into that. Just want to tell them, singer, you're an instructor. You do a lot of things. Runner,
Who am I?
exactly. Well, and I will say that like you always have been kind of a staple in Nashville, or I've always seen you as like a running coach.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
truth be known, didn't even know you sang.
Yeah.
Like had no idea.
I don't even either sometimes.
Yeah, like it's incredible because like I don't know if it was after you had left Nashville.
Yeah.
But like that's when I realized like, oh, like she sings, whatever. And then
Yeah.
too, like another client of mine that I had that I don't know if do you live with have you lived with Megan or Morgan? Was that
No, so Morgan trained with me
Okay.
like a long time ago.
Okay.
And then I don't know, either I left or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever. But yeah, no, she found me online like
Yeah.
a long million time, like
Okay.
million. And we just became friends.
just became friends? Yeah, because you're like always over there and hanging out.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it was around that time that I realized that you sang because she had said
Yeah.
something. I was like, wait, like I know her though. Like really? And
You're
then I
like,
was just
"What?"
like, what?
Yeah.
And then you just dropped like a new single, right?
Oh my God, it's so hot.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Like-
well, I would say I'm definitely not as much of a singer as a writer. Like
Okay.
that's kind of like, that's what brought me to Nashville is, I mean, I've always done fitness stuff. I've always done that kind of thing, which I
Okay.
think it's a beautiful, it's like, it's a beautiful marriage between music and fitness because
Yeah.
music is like, you can work so hard
Yeah.
and nothing will ever happen.
Yep,
You can
yep.
like, it's like you can just keep doing everything. You can be a great person
Right.
and work so hard and have great songs, but it's like impossible. But as far as like writing, I don't know. Do you know anything like about all that? Like,
Well, I have several clients who are singers
Okay.
and who are songwriters
No,
as well.
but I've, like,
And-
what
but
I've
about yourself,
done?
no, I've only seen just like what you've been posting.
Oh my
everything.
God.
So like I saw you had a new single out.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then It's so like from there, kind of take us back real quick before we get into like current. Like, okay, first off, you're not from here. Where are you from?
no, I don't know. Like,
Where were you born? Where were you born?
Who am I?
I want to know.
I know. So, well, I mean, this is such a crazy story. So, born in North Carolina, but I
Okay.
grew up in Texas.
Okay.
So, mostly Texas, and then moved to New York City to pursue. So, I lived in Texas like through college.
Okay.
And graduated with a degree in acting.
Oh, nice.
And
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. And then like during college, I started teaching spinning.
Okay.
And kickboxing.
Yeah.
And, like back when like Billy Blanks, it was probably
I was
before
about
your
to say,
time.
No, I know Billy
Oh
Blank.
my
I got you.
girl, I'm so old. But yeah, so started teaching kickboxing like at college and then went, then like spinning and then, moved to New York City.
Okay. To pursue
and
acting?
To pursue acting.
Cool.
So,
I love that.
so let's back up a little bit. Here's the real funny story.
Okay, tell me.
Okay. Here it is. So, I was in college and then this is not a lot of people know this. So, get excited.
I wanna know
the
all the
inside
things.
scoop. So I was in college and I was majoring in theater and like our whole theater group Rent came to town to Dallas.
Cool.
And everyone was going to go audition for Rent. And I was like, I'm not going to go audition for Rent. And everyone was like, you should just do it. And I was like, okay, fine. So I did.
Yeah.
So I ended up being the only white female called back out of Dallas.
Okay.
All the way to the end. So they offered me, have you seen Rent?
Uh-huh,
Have
yeah.
you seen it? So there's only like one white female
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, part. Yeah.
And they offered me the part in the touring cast and I was like, I'm scared. And I was just not ready
Okay,
to
I
do
see.
that because I was in college and I was like, I want to finish college.
Okay.
And
So it's a great opportunity, but not the right time.
not the right time. And so
Yeah.
they said, we think you need to move to New York when you're done.
Okay.
You know, they had me audition for some other things while I was in college.
Yeah.
And so I moved to New York when I graduated. And then I started, I got a job like a few days after I moved there as a personal trainer in, I probably shouldn't say this. I didn't love training. I loved coaching. I loved
Yeah.
teaching
Okay.
more.
Okay.
And,
No,
but
that's totally fun to say.
yeah,
I think more people need to differentiate that and understand that too.
yeah, I
'Cause
loved like,
it's totally different.
totally different, but
Yeah.
I love like, and I still do like love the group aspect of it.
Yeah.
I love like everybody that I work with, but so started doing one-on-one training, but
Yeah.
then ended up moving into group stuff.
Okay, cool.
And then the head of EMI took
Mm-hmm.
my spin class and everyone called it like spintertainment. And he was like, why are you not performing?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know.
What is VMI?
EMI.
EMI.
EMI. It used to be like, EMI used to be like Virgin Capitol Records.
Okay, got it.
So it used to be like a big.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so he funneled me down here. And then one thing led to another. And I was like, I'm going to move here.
Okay.
So I moved here.
Yeah. What would that? But you moved here. But like, was that? How old were you?
A million years ago.
Yeah.
A long time.
Okay. So
I
this
was
is
20 something. It was a long time ago. It
Okay.
was like eight,
like
17,
late
18.
20s or
20, 22,
okay.
4, 6, 26,
So it's kind
26.
of all happened kind of quick because you're like you graduated college.
Yeah.
Then you went to New York, and then they're like, no, actually, we think you have better chances like acting and doing all this stuff down here or singing for around.
Singing, I didn't
Okay.
even do an audition. I kind of fell in love with the fitness stuff.
Okay.
Did that.
Got
I
it.
was group fitness manager
Okay.
up there for a gym in Midtown.
Okay.
And like,
a franchise or a small.
it was
gym?
a small gym in Midtown, but I became like the group fitness manager. So
Mm-hmm.
we had 130 something classes a week.
Yeah.
I had 40 employees.
That's awesome.
So for 2 years I did that,
Yeah.
and it was incredible.
That's
I
awesome.
loved that.
Yeah, and living in New
And-
York, I'm sure was such a vibe.
It was such a vibe. It's the greatest place on earth.
I love it every time I go visit. I'm just like,
greatest.
you just feel like the possibilities. I mean, they say are endless, but like truly,
Truly.
like literally, you're walking. You're just like, all right, I'm gonna go do a Love Your Body initiative in Times Square, and then I'm gonna go take a class, and then I'm gonna go walk on a
Endless.
runway, and then I'm gonna go do whatever.
Endless.
And it's like, yeah,
Anything you want to do, anything you want to
Yep.
eat
Yeah.
at any time.
Yeah.
And the city has a heartbeat. Like
Yes.
to me, it's alive, you know?
Yeah.
So I loved it. But yeah, so then I moved here
Okay.
and then I ended up like getting offered my dream fitness job back up there.
oh man,
And then, but I was like, no, I'm going to regret it if I don't stay here and follow
Yeah.
my dreams.
right.
So yeah.
Do you regret not doing any of that?
I wonder, I'm like, I probably would be making more money, but
Oh, I see.
you know, as far as like fitness stuff, but
yeah.
but as far as the music,
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. It's been a great ride as far as that. I've had people like Chris Young, Rascal Flatts. I had the last Craig Morgan single, so I've
Okay.
written.
Like several.
Yeah.
hits.
So songs for all those
So
people
cool.
and Kylie Morgan
I love
recently. And yeah, so it's.
So when you came down here, you were like, okay, kind of like head down. I'm gonna like do some fitness stuff on the side. I'm gonna focus more on my songwriting, or was it more like I'm immersed in the fitness stuff and I'm gonna have the songwriting on the side?
Yeah, it was more, and honestly, at that time, it was more like I thought I wanted to be an artist.
Okay.
Like I wanted to do the singer
Yeah.
thing. And then I did the fitness kind of on the side. Like, but it's always been something that I have done. Like, never have I not done it.
Right. A part of your life for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that I could ever,
Not have some. Yeah.
or not like help people.
Well, because
that
that's the
way.
thing too. Is like I don't even know. It was. I'm gonna probably say that it was like Nashville Fit because they were one of my first sponsors.
Yeah.
And when I talked about doing the Find Your Fit festival, and, you know, to help raise money for St. Jude and like, you know, all that stuff in Franklin, I was like, okay, I want a 5K. I want this. It's, you know, never before done festival and stuff. And yeah, and it was like so fun. And I mean, you remember because I asked you, and I want to say that they had told me, or I'd seen them post or maybe something about you or just alluded to you. But I was like, she'd be perfect. Like, you know, like seems like really like fun, like bubbly, like, you know, whatever. And like, you know, I am not directionally challenged. I'm not going to go lead them down a 5K. Like I can run a 5K at that time. You know, I'm like, I can do that. But like, no, we're going to have someone do that. And so you came through for sure, which was huge.
That was awesome.
Thank you. I remember, I mean, yeah. Did you remember like just
Totally.
like, it was such a beautiful day. And Logan was there too, you know, doing his videography and stuff. And we had a lot of like the OGs, you know, that were there.
Yeah.
And so that was super cool. And yeah, and so that was like 2017, and I know that you weren't there for 2018. So, like,
where was I? What happened?
I don't know.
I'm like,
No, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it because I'm trying to wonder,
what
like,
happened?
if that was like, when did you move? Because
I moved. I didn't move till 2020.
Okay.
But did you do a 5K?
I did. So yeah, but I
Okay.
did. I don't even know, honestly. I did
It
so
all
much.
everything runs
It
together
was,
for
it was
me. and
literally
I'm
like 2017, 2018, and 2019 that I did those festivals, you know?
Yeah.
But then I was like doing them like not just in Franklin. There was like Franklin and then Nashville and then Franklin
Yeah.
and Murfreesboro. So stuff was crazy.
I remember that it was. I remember that there was a weekend, and I think it was like either there was like one of them was a conflict or
Yes,
something.
I think it was too. And so, because I tried to do the Nashville one on a Friday night, which like
I
highly don't recommend.
remember
But it was the
that.
only time I could get the space at Fontenelle.
I remember
And,
that.
Yeah.
I think you asked me, and I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
And low key, I had a couple of my friends, like who were runners also, like Lisa and then Ashley. I don't know if you know them, but Ashley Edmondson. She's like a
Yeah.
facialist anyway, but she's amazing. But she was like, oh, well, we'll lead it.
Yeah.
And there was only like a couple people that did it, but like one of the girls got like lost and like it was a whole thing. And I was just like, where's Megan? But no, it's okay. They did the best they could. Like it was a lot. Like it was, that whole day was crazy, but it was so special. But no, I loved having you there and you were such an integrative like part in that. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So ever since then, I've been like, man, I wonder what Megan's doing. But you've always kind of come up in conversation, whether it was like in the fitness space, like I said, with my clients, or like if people who just, you know you from just other things and just like friends. And so, yeah, so I haven't had a chance to actually get to talk and be like, so what happened? So like, why did you end up moving in 20?
What happened?
Yeah.
I know. It's so, and it's also crazy because I have not talked about this. Like I have not sat down and really talked about why I left or what it did for me, and it was like the best thing that I could ever do. But I think what happened is it was kind of like a culmination of everything. Like I felt super trapped here.
Okay.
It was like I was in a writing deal and then I got out of that.
Okay.
And it was in 2020. It was like when everything kind of like, and, or 2019 when COVID happened in 2020.
2020, yeah.
Okay. That's when the world went crazy.
Yes.
But it was like, I had just gotten out of my publishing deal. And so music is great, but it's also very hard, and it can break you down, and it can break your heart.
Right.
And so it's like, that's why I've always loved fitness and like, and
it's always there for you.
Yeah.
It always shows up for you.
Yeah. And it's always like, especially like running, that has been,
Yeah.
I mean, I write better when I go for a run. Like
100%.
when, you know,
Yes, it's that mind-body connection.
It
It's
is.
and it is. It's like movement. Like you just feel like a rock star.
Yeah.
After. Like every time I've done like Move Fit.
Yeah.
And like afterwards, I'm like, let's go conquer anything.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
throw anything my way. So
Yeah.
I definitely can imagine how like more creative and how exciting.
Yes.
Like
And it just like, it releases everything. And then to have to like sit down, and I feel like with writing, what you do is it's like word puzzles for hours, and you're sitting here, how are we trying to make this work? Or how are you trying to say this in a different way? And I mean, so really what happens is like 99.99999% of all the songs that you write are never going to see the light of day. Like no one's ever going to hear them. they're all like little tiny pieces of you. And then like they all just don't ever do anything. And it can be really sad. It can be really disheartening
Right.
and really hard
Yeah.
on you mentally. And so I got out of my publishing deal and I was like, I'm going to take a break. And I was over in 12 South. I was training nonstop. I had people coming, you know, to me. I was run coaching. I was just like, I was doing so much. And I never like left my house. So people would come to me.
I
Then
feel like I'm in there right now. Like,
yes,
that's exactly right. Yep.
And I had like no life. I would never go out, never do anything. And then
Everybody's listening.
speaking
to
to the choir. But we love it.
Yes.
But it's hard.
It is hard, and it's super lonely.
Yes.
And it's just like, bruh. Like, 'cause sometimes you're like, I gotta get out, but like I've just seen so many people.
Yeah.
They've been in my space.
Yes.
I just want to sit.
I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yes, but then-
and it's a lot of giving.
It is a lot of giving.
And people also don't understand that. And then the shift for me when I was like training and then I would write and then I would train like all day. It was just at the end of the day, I was just mentally and physically drained.
Yep.
And so I kind of felt like there was no getting out of it.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody, you know, like me and you. You've done a really great job because you've built this beautiful brand.
Thank
like
you.
Yourself, your face, your the whole like body image. I mean, everything that you've done is incredible. So you probably could pick up and move to somewhere else and be like, this is me, this is my brand, and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But someone like me, well, I'm just like, here I am. I mean, you can't really just pick up and just be like, I'm here in a new
Right.
city, unless you start working for a gym.
Right.
You can't just pick up and
It's so much harder than people realize.
Yeah.
And it's so sweet. And thank you for those kind words, because like that is something I'm sure all my clients listening are like, oh, no, like don't go any, you know, and they just heard you say that.
no.
But like, but it's one of those things where when you think about it and you're just like, man, like, you know, would you like to do that or whatever? But then it's like that whole like foothold, because you're like, but you wouldn't have the same, you know, right?
It's not going to be the same.
Right. But then also it's like, how would you get those people? Would you be starting all over? So it's like the
Yes.
fear in it. And I know a lot of people now, when they probably listening, they're like, oh, there's a trainer on every block. But like, that's the problem. And then you have to then not only stand out, but be over and above exceptional, you know, from, you know, what everyone's seeing. And then plus, like, as a female, I don't know if you ever dealt with that, but I've always dealt with that, with the whole, they'll pay a male trainer way 3 times as much. But then when we ask, it's like this, it's like, I don't know. And it's like constantly like you have to not only prove yourself, which sucks, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's just that different environment.
Yeah.
So I definitely get that when
Yeah.
you say about like leaving and stuff.
Yeah. So I think it kind of like everything came to a head in 2020 when basically I didn't do anything online as far as, I mean, all my running stuff was online.
Right. Yeah.
But, and it was just like, okay, well, I'm not gonna continue to train people in person with COVID.
Yeah.
So I shut everything down.
Yeah.
And I basically lost everything. I mean, I didn't have my training business. I had my running clients, some, but then races stopped.
Yeah.
And
Because were you getting like paid to race? Like, were you like a sponsored athlete?
no, I mean, now I am, which is
nice.
hilarious because I'm not fast anymore, but
Who cares?
We'll talk about that. That's like awesome.
Yes.
It's also seeing that from a totally different side. But this is what we'll talk about is like when I stepped away.
Yes.
And what I took from doing that. Like that's what happened. So basically I had to shut everything down.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here during all this.
Yeah.
I'm going to peace out. And I didn't, it was kind of like my out And
yeah,
I was
get
like,
that.
I'm out.
No, I totally understand that
Yeah.
because literally, so I ended up, I was in Murfreesboro. So
Yeah.
this whole time,
Yeah.
like, I was driving Murfreesboro, Nashville, Franklin, going all over, whatever, to train clients and
Yeah.
stuff. And at the time of 2020, I was training in Franklin and Nashville, and I really wanted to let go of the Franklin studio. I was exhausted. I'm running myself into the
tiring.
ground, and I couldn't get past a certain threshold. Like, I was like, I've met my cap.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough hours in the day. There's nothing more that I can do. I got to, let go of it, but I just didn't know how to.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect opportunity
Yeah.
because I knew that like the owner of that gym that's now closed, like wasn't going to clean it up. It was going to still be gross. Like I was just like, it's not going to work,
Yeah.
And I liked being in the Nashville. I was at Next Level. And up there, and when I was there, it was one of those things where, like, I was like, okay, you guys, I'm going to do virtual over COVID because
Yeah.
I had not done virtual either.
Me
I really
neither.
kind of like used to like make fun of it low key. Like I was like, I don't want to be somebody that just trains virtually. And then when I was doing virtuals, like, because I was like, hey, I'm going to give everybody a 30% discount.
Yeah.
So
I was like, I
continue.
demoted myself.
Yep, I was like, let's continue to train because I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have me in person, and I made it more of like, I'm not gonna spend all day long also training during this time because
Yeah.
it's like I was injured, health and stuff with everything going on, and I was with my parents. We used my mom's office, okay, and
Yeah.
I just set up my computer, whatever, made it work. But I was like, so I'm gonna do a class like that,
Same.
and then do a couple, individuals who aren't comfortable with a class, and so everybody kept going, which was great. But then like I was supposed to move into Connect in April of 2020. Well, COVID hit in mid-March, okay?
Yeah.
So that was my out. So, like, leave to Nashville, then be like, okay, perfect, right? To be, like, away from, like, not that I don't want to live with my parents anymore, but, at this point, I'm, like, 27. I'm like, let's
gotta
move
go.
forward. Yeah.
We gotta go.
And I got that opportunity to live there for free. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be sick and, like, be their body positive, influencer.
Yeah.
And literally, like, it was just such a hard thing because then when finally it comes about, it was like they had to move it to like July to move
Yeah.
in. And so, it was like not that, again, didn't lose everything, but it was just all so different and flowing. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but y'all, like, we just have to move everything to Nashville. I'm going to
Yeah.
be living up there. We're going to be like, I'm going to train up there. And it was scary.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. And I didn't know who's coming back, who's whatever. But like, yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very scary. I flipped everything online and it was great. Like it has totally opened a whole thing.
Right.
Now I have people that are like, all these people that like used to train with me and that moved away.
Yeah.
And now I have people that are in Texas and
Yep.
Pittsburgh and that are all over.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. That
Exactly.
just like dial in. And then I have these people that are in Nashville that are in like 12 South. I live in Sylvan Park and they're like, no, I'm just going to dial up. So
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, okay, whatever y'all want to do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, y'all should come over. So
Yeah.
it's so funny. But I have people that do come, but I think so. It kind of, so what happened is I left and I was like, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the ocean.
Yeah, I saw you and I was like, "Psh, pop off, sis." Like I was like, go. Like
Go,
that's
girl.
awesome.
Go.
And,
Goodbye.
But then I was just like,
What is she doing?
well, no, it was honestly, I was just like, man, that's so cool. Because
Yeah.
at that time too, just with all the uncertainty with everything, I was going through like grief and stuff. And it was, just a lot of stuff. And I was just like, that was like a dream.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, because I always wanted to live in California. That was
Yeah.
like look at the painting in the background.
Yeah.
Like that's Santa Monica Pier is one of a very vivid, just beautiful place for me, right? And memory. And so, because where did you move to? What was
The Florida Keys.
it was Florida Keys. Okay, cool. So it's like the beach vibes and
Unreal.
like you can run and you do all the things. So like, tell me
So
like,
hot.
so did you just like
Way too
sell
hot.
your place in 12 South or
Way
what did
too
you
hot.
do? Way too hot.
Like
really?
way too hot. So I rented in 12 South.
Okay.
So I
So you could just pick up.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
I didn't want to give it up because I had been there for so long and I had such a good setup and literally the entire half the house I turned into a gym. Like
Yeah.
you would walk in and like the whole house would be a gym.
Yeah.
And then writing room, but it was time. But I went down there and I stayed with one of my clients.
Okay.
And I was going to stay for 3 days. Ended up staying for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And it was fine. And so this wasn't even in the Keys yet. So this was like in Punta Gorda.
Okay.
And it was just great. And then And then I made my way.
Was it just because your client was there that you're like, okay, this is somewhere fun, new, whatever, and I'll go there? Like, because it's an easier kind of transition, or was it you've always wanted to go there?
I have friends in the Keys. I have a
cool.
really, really great friend in the Keys that is just one of the best people in the whole world.
Nice. Okay, cool.
And so I was headed towards him.
Okay.
And I was going down there, and then I got sidetracked, and then I was like not even gonna go all the way. That I was gonna come back, and then I was like, oh, I'm so close. I'm just gonna go. So then I went down there, and then I just ended up staying there. So,
I love that.
yeah, I started diving.
Okay.
And then that opened up a whole other world. And once I started really training people online, and once I realized, okay, we're not, this COVID thing's going to be around a while.
Yeah.
We're not going to come back in person quite yet.
Yeah.
I said, okay, let's like actually take a break. I stopped writing songs. I stopped music completely for a year and a half.
Okay.
I needed a really big break from that.
Yeah.
I needed to just
Step away.
And so then what happened with that is I got my first country radio single while I was down there. And Craig Morgan released the song How You Make a Man, which is one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And so I started to come back here and came back here to see him perform
For a few of the shows.
at the Grand Ole Opry, and then at the Ryman. And then I would write when I would come here. I would stay with my friend Jill or Morgan.
Okay, cool.
And and so then I just started kind of reconnecting and then really kind of started missing the community.
Right.
Because the ocean and everything down there, it's amazing.
Oh, I bet.
But island life is different.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
How to say? It's just different. I don't want to say too much without saying.
What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. Like culturally? Like, what are you saying? Like,
There's
the vibes are just different.
There's some interesting vibes. We'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you some things maybe off.
Maybe on our Patreon episode.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody
Yes.
should subscribe to that.
Yes.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Noted.
Yeah. Yeah. There were some things that happened that I couldn't make up.
Oh, wow.
Like some interesting encounters as far as just people and things. And, I just think to live down there, you're running from something, which.
So it's an escape.
It's
Everybody's
an escape.
Yes.
It's an escape.
Yeah.
And I was escaping.
Yeah.
My boyfriend who I met down there, he was escaping.
Okay.
And it's like you have all these people in one place that are running from something.
Yeah.
And then it's just interesting vibes.
Yeah.
So I did not particularly lock in with really like the same community. And there's no like gyms like there's like one CrossFit there and that's it.
Wow.
And that's pretty much it.
So were you just like running at that point, like for your own health, like your own fitness, or were you like doing those classes, or did you do anything?
Yeah, I did. Everything was online. I went to the CrossFit a little bit, but it was not super my jam.
Yeah.
They always would call me a cherry picker because
because I'm not doing that. I'm doing this.
Or like I just can't. As far as super heavy lifting with running, I can't do all of like all of that.
Yeah.
I have to pick and choose, or I can't be super duper, when you're going and running 15, 20 miles
For sure.
and you have to figure out what works for you cross training wise.
Yes.
So
And you're trying to figure out like too, it sounds like you're trying to have this like foothold in this community. Hey everyone, thank you so much for subscribing and following the Love Your Body podcast. It means the world. Anytime you share this podcast with friends, that means just everything to me. Please feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions about Dani Fitness, in-person training, online programming, food accountability coaching, all the things. Would love to have you a part. You can email me at Dani@DaniFitness.com, as well as just DM me on Instagram. As we're finishing up the Love Your Body challenge, we're actually going to be sponsoring a 5K coming up, and that's going to be August 10th. So if you want to join Team Dani Fitness, please let me know. Would love to have you a part. And remember, all bodies, sizes, ages welcome in this mission. So anytime you share, it helps create real change. So appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
hey y'all, it's Megan Connor. If you want to come follow my journey, I would love for you to join me. You can find me on Instagram at Megan Connor. On Facebook, you can follow me at Megan Connor Music or at Megan Connor Fitness or at MeganConnor.com. There's so many Megan Connors. Come follow me anywhere.
Yeah, so it's like you're trying to find your like foothold in like in the place there. So it's
Yeah.
got to be hard,
Yeah.
right? So then, how long did you end up staying there?
I was there for 3-ish years.
Okay.
3-ish years.
The whole time, did you have a boyfriend or was it?
No.
Okay.
For part of the time.
Okay.
Year and a half. But I met him and he's a crazy runner. You think I'm
Okay.
a crazy runner.
Yeah.
And with running, so I have been kind of injured.
Yeah.
I'm not right at this moment,
Uh-huh.
but we can back up and talk about all the running.
Yes.
We'll talk about all the running stuff after this.
sure.
But so I was running down there, but it is so hot. It's
I
like
can only imagine.
the
Yeah.
hottest day here.
Yeah, but all the time.
Every day there.
Yep.
And it's so hot. It's so humid. It's ridiculous. But I met my boyfriend
Okay.
and he is
Like just out where you
No,
like,
we were diving. We
Oh,
met diving.
Okay.
So I met most of the people that
Yeah.
I really connected with. I met diving.
So just like, was this like a group excursion? Just because I like to talk about a lot of like my girls that listen, that they're single.
Yeah.
And also me, for like research, for like how do people
research.
meet people and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So was it like a diving group that you went to, or was it just something random that like,
We
was it?
were both doing. So what I kind of learned
Mm-hmm.
was another thing is I feel like if you are truly doing something that you love,
Mm-hmm.
you have more opportunity to meet other people
right.
that love the same thing
Yeah, I love
and
that.
can be friends or boyfriends or
Yeah.
romantic or whatever, but we were both working towards getting our dive master certification on the
Okay,
same
cool.
boat. And one of the other dive masters was like, "Hey, you should talk to this guy. He's a runner, but like a crazy runner."
Yeah.
And he's done these ultras.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's done Badwater,
Okay.
135, which he's done all those, which those are like the toughest
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah. I have a friend that's an ultra marathon runner, and she talks about like all of that and just the craziness of it. And
level.
I'm like, yeah, it is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like,
He
wow.
ran 100 miles and I crewed him.
You did? Oh wow. Okay.
Girl.
That's that's like commitment.
Girl. Oh, I hallucinated. It was amazing.
Ah.
He ran from Key Largo to Key West in the middle of May.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. So I
Yeah.
ran 20 something miles with him.
Yeah.
And
You like support, but like that's all.
support, but a quarter of support.
Yeah,
But
yep.
yeah, but you have to stay up and
Yeah.
make sure that they're eating. And
Oh, yeah.
It was intense. It was crazy.
Wow.
So he's another level.
Yeah.
But-
so you met him, and then you guys are you're running, he's running, you're training people like online.
Yeah.
And then kind of still stepped away from your music,
Yeah.
but then you got that single, so you started coming back.
Started coming back.
Okay.
Started doing writing sessions. I was doing some Zoom writing sessions.
Okay.
And then it kind of became a thing where I really, really missed the community.
Yeah.
I keep saying, and I want to write this song, but it's something for you to think about too, because you have such an awesome community.
Yeah.
But sometimes you gotta leave to know what you left.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realize what you have until you step away and you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know?
No, we talk about that a lot because that's how like I got in like, you know, what was it? Like, pretty much like last year because I was doing bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And I got, like I said, like this not so great coach. And so it was basically like just kind of ran me into the ground.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, hey, I don't feel well. Stuff's going on. And he's like, well, like this is hard.
Let's look it up.
And I was like, no, this is different. You
Yeah.
know, like something's something's happening.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, I end up pretty much like it was July of like last year. And then like my vision in my eye starts blurring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's happening? Like I can't see. And I'm like, okay, something's in my eye, whatever. Anyway, all that to say, end up having an autoimmune disorder because of all the nonsense and all the running myself into the ground
Yeah.
with all that. And again, like, yes, like I am a high functioning, like, you know, I do a lot just like you in terms of like everything. So I was running around crazy. Like
Yeah.
I get it. Like I was at Connect, but then we had the house and I was renovating. And then like I was training myself, then training like 18 people in a day. Like it was a lot. Right.
Yeah.
But then not having the support that I needed from that, you know,
Yeah.
it was just like, I don't know. Anyway, so it was a lot. And so I just kind of didn't know what to do. So I ended up competing on stage, couldn't really see out of my eye as I'm up there on stage. And I was just like, I'm going to finish this. And then after I'm done, you're gone. Like
Yeah.
I'm not working with you. So I told him that. And then got with my now coach, who's also a friend. And we've just been working on like health and
Yeah.
like getting me back, like my strongest self, whatever, and all of that, and just getting questions answered.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool. And I feel very much more like validated and like heard,
Yeah.
which is what I do for my people. That's why it was so hard at that
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
because it's almost like I was so not resentful, but it's like I give so much to everybody. I was like, I just need one person to give back to me. Yes.
I know.
And so you understand completely. And so it's like, I remember sitting here like before my 30th birthday, I mean, just like feeling like, the lowest that I have ever felt.
Yeah.
And not ever, but like been a long time felt. And then it was like, you know, and then I had my clients end up doing something really special for my birthday for me. And I was just like, whoa. And then like my parents ended up doing something. And like they all said all these things. And I had to kind of sit with that. And even up until like this past birthday, I just turned 31.
Yeah.
Like I looked back at those videos from a new light because
Yeah.
I was in a better headspace.
Yeah.
But I was just like, wow.
Yes.
Like, so it was that whole, like I had to step away from
You
like.
have to step away.
Yes. And also too, like with it, you talked about like being kind of in that space. Like
Yeah.
I actively am trying now that I'm healthy enough to like go do things like
Yeah.
go line dancing, go
Yes.
paddleboarding, go to the movies, go
Yes.
to the Nightlight 615, like doing things.
Yeah.
And not even with the, assumption of like I'm gonna gain a bunch of stuff or I'm gonna meet the love of my life or whatever,
No,
but just
say yes
doing saying
to-
yes more
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and I think like stepping away for me, I saw the music business from this whole other place.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it from not having to be in the business side of it and
Yeah.
being able to do it from the creative side of it and sitting in the room and really like connecting and
Yeah.
picking and saying, no, I want to write with this person or I want to write with this person
Yeah.
and not I call it throwing spaghetti at the wall when you have a publishing deal and you know, which also was amazing. Like
Yeah.
I've had multiple of those and those are amazing.
Yeah.
Because you get paid to be creative,
Which is
awesome. But sometimes you can get so caught up in the numbers of that
Yeah.
you miss the quality. So
Right.
it becomes quantity over quality.
Yeah.
And now it's really like it's about intention.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, as you get older, everything becomes more intentional.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, there's a purpose to this.
Right.
And all that. So everything stepping away, I got to see, okay, there's a creative, coming back to the creativeness, coming back to the why.
Yeah.
Of why you do things.
Right.
You know, music and really coming back to that. And then coming back to being able to have some boundaries.
Yes.
Which I think is
Just
hard.
huge.
Yeah. It's
But
hard
it's
for
hard.
people like us
Yep.
too, because we want to do it all, and
Yes.
we want to say yes, and we want to help everybody.
Yep.
And but it's also important for us because we get to a place where we're just like, ugh.
No, yeah. And that was the biggest thing too that I had
Yeah.
to realize was having those boundaries and being like, yeah. And that was something that I never really thought I was bad at,
No.
but then realized like, oh, it has to be enforced even more.
Yeah.
Because of because it would just, like, it would get to me. I mean, I would have people text me in the middle of the night. I would have like all these,
Yes.
like, just, and like running myself, like I said, kind of ragged with things, or there was no time to just have that privacy, like to just be with
Yeah.
my thoughts, and even sit and everything like that. And it became like every part of my life was like a job.
Yeah.
And that was like, no,
Yeah.
that is not what this should be. And so it's like I paid the extra money to have this like automated system. And now
Yeah.
for like my clients, like they have portals and they have all the things and they have the
Yeah.
text reminders, because I'd be sitting here spending so much time texting every single person an individual warm up every day, the day before I see them, and
Yep.
like, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like no, like,
Yeah.
and so did all the hard like the work of that and spent the money,
Yeah.
which I didn't want to do at first.
I know.
And then that helped so greatly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then even now I have like an assistant,
Yeah.
which thank goodness, and she helps because I absolutely hate making newsletters.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it. I can give you all the content in the world. I
Yeah.
have all the content in the world. I have all the photos. I have all
But
the
you
videos.
do it.
But like, literally, and that's like, and right now when this comes out, I think my book will have been announced. But so I have a book that's like on Amazon, so I'm super excited about that. But like, even with that, I was like, make it look
Yeah.
a certain way,
Yeah. You
and
do
like
it.
go. But like,
Yeah.
here's the vision. Let's go. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not my thing. Like
Yeah.
the formatting, like I can create everything.
Yeah.
It's just not the
And
organization part.
That is like what I think realizing too, and that's something when I stepped away, I had a lot more time and
Yeah.
I could enjoy weekends, and
Yeah.
that was great. Being able to like realize, okay, this is what having a life is.
Yeah.
So that, and then also, okay, I'm not good at this. I am good at this. I'm good
Right.
at this. I'm good at this. Let's
Like
figure out-
self-discovery.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so coming back, I knew that I wanted it to look different.
Yeah.
It is different. Some of it is the same, and I've had to like, catch myself, and I'm like,
Right.
"Ugh,"
Right.
you
Because
know,
that's like falling into like old
some
habits.
of the
or,
yeah, and just I mean with what we do, it's a lot of it's a hustle. It's a
Yeah.
hustle, and
Oh yeah.
you know, but
Well, and I wanted to ask you too. Like, did you feel like when you came back, because you came back in, what was that? Was it 20?
no, it was last
23?
year. No, I haven't even been back a year.
Okay.
So, yeah,
so you-
2023.
Okay, so you
October.
came. Okay, cool. Okay, so you came back. So when you came back, did you feel like, was there ever a moment where did you feel like kind of like you were so far removed, or did you feel like you were able to jump back in? Like, what did you feel like?
Yeah, I did not ever feel removed. I think maybe at the beginning when I started coming back, I felt a little disconnected. But I almost liked that.
Yeah.
Like I needed that.
Like a fresh-
Yeah.
yeah.
But I never felt disconnected with the people that I
Had like built those
needed to. Yeah.
Yes.
And I also feel like it's like with you always like with social media, I think is such a beautiful thing. Right now I'm like, oh, y'all need to like calm down on it.
Right,
But
100%.
I think it's such I think it's such a beautiful thing because it's like I have watched you. I have watched you. I don't talk to you like often.
Yeah.
But I watch you and I see you and it's like I can follow.
Yeah.
And I see and I can cheer from afar. And I don't
Yeah.
have to like we don't have to talk all the time or every
Right.
day, but I can like something that you're doing and you know that I'm there.
Yeah.
And I can see it and I can still keep up with you. And
Yeah.
that I think is the beauty
Yes,
of it.
100%.
So I never felt completely, disconnected,
disconnected.
or but yeah. So I'm glad to be back. It's
Yeah.
it's totally different, but
Well, that's what I was gonna ask
Some
too.
of
So
it's
when
the
you
same.
when you came back, like for example, because what I've noticed and like from being in it and everything like that is that I mean, there's a lot of businesses that have failed,
Yeah.
and that are no longer around. A lot of
Yeah.
people who changed and like gave, like Ryan doesn't run Nashville Fit anymore,
Yeah.
like those things. The expo and how it's grown
Yeah.
and everything. Like so, there's so many different things, and then people who were trainers that aren't anymore,
Yeah.
and then people who have moved and stuff like that. So it's like, do you feel like like, do you feel like it's what's the word? I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It feels
Changed or
yeah,
morphed
like
or...
it's yeah, like what I've experienced with it is it's been like so funny because you have all these new people out here in these streets.
Yeah.
And they're like, whatever. And you're like, yeah, we've been here.
Yeah,
Like, do you
we
still
know.
feel like you're like,
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's how music is too. It's like you
Yeah.
have all these new people coming in and you're like, honey.
Right?
But that's how the world works, and
Yeah.
like it's always going to be how it is.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, I know it works,
Yeah.
and I'm going to keep doing what I do.
exactly.
But
And staying on your path.
yeah,
for
stay on
everybody
your
listening.
path. But I kind of am like, the way that I've always worked is like Nashville's a big place, and there's room
Yes.
for everybody.
Right.
And there's room for, and I love like connecting people.
Yes.
Like I will,
Which is huge.
Yeah,
And that's what I do as well.
And that's what one of my old clients trains with you now. It's
Okay,
like
yeah.
Morgan,
Yeah.
and and if I ever pieced out again,
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Right.
you would be someone that I would be like, huh.
Thanks,
And
girl.
it's
I
just like
appreciate
I
that.
love like the connection
Right.
of people. I feel like it's big enough for everybody.
And it is. And that's the problem though, is most act like it's not. And that's where even with
There
Find Your
used to be-
Fit, like
there
when we
used to be that too.
Right.
That people that I worked for, but
yeah. And like that's what, with Find Your Fit, that was the whole thing is like, that was one of those moments where I literally we had Orange Theory. We
Yeah.
had I think like berries. I think there's so many different people that came through, like franchises.
Yeah.
And then and like Cycle Bar and like all of those people. And then plus then they had some yoga instructors and they had you for the running. Like I wanted all
Everybody.
people, and that's why it was called Find Your Fit. Like I wanted people to come out there and be
And
like, look, if and
find
try
it.
it.
Try
And then
everything.
Try everything. It was like a buffet of fitness. Is what I did.
Yes.
And it was one of those
Love a
things where
buffet.
like I loved, yeah, right. So I was like, I loved, took me back to like when I was younger.
I was like Golden Corral or like what else did you do? They don't even have it. No.
Oh my gosh. No, but it literally like took me back to, when I'm thinking about it of like, I was trying so hard to bring the community together in that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of the people who were at the original ones, right? I mean, you have like Ambition Threads, you have Barbell Voodoo,
Yeah.
who now Roy is in charge of the expo. And then you have National Fit Magazine. And then you
Yeah.
have like all the key people like who are still doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like were originally there and supported me in the beginning. And that was so key because y'all saw the benefit of community.
Yeah.
And that was like all I wanted.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to be like, look, like you don't have to train with me.
Yeah.
But like, or like if you are doing running with Megan, then you can train with me. Or like if you like whatever
Yeah.
it was,
There's
and there's some
a way
collab.
for all of us to work together.
Yes, and that's where like it gets so. I think that's where I got kind of bogged down too.
Yeah.
Like when it was like, you feel like you kind of hit this head of stuff, and like in 2021 was when I actually became like my most creative because after like loss, injury, whatever, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going because I needed that for my own health, like mental
Yeah.
health and talking, and wanted to interview amazing people and stuff like that. Because I knew I couldn't be like the only one going through,
Yeah.
all the things. And I wanted to help others too in a different way. But that, and I created Fight, my
Yeah.
energy booster, and which I don't know. I mean, you're already pretty hyped up, so I'm like, I was gonna give you some. But
Girl,
then
I
I'm
need
like,
some. No.
You
no.
need some? Okay.
Girl, I need some before I teach.
Okay,
Like,
gotcha.
yeah.
In the
No,
intermission, we'll get you some.
Yeah. And before
But,
long runs, yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, it's a game changer for sure. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I just ran like 50 miles, Dani.
Let's
What just
go.
happened? And I'll be like,
Let's
I
go.
know, sponsored run. It's fine. But like, even like that, like, and to see who supported it
Yeah.
when it first came out,
Yeah.
and then like to see even now, like who drinks it or who whatever, like it's like, you can kind of take it like personal,
Yeah.
stuff, because you're like, guys, like this can be like there's so many ways that we can partner club, and a lot of people are
Yeah.
so one-side minded or like whatever that they won't even be open to it.
Yeah.
Just like with Find Your Fit. And so it's like one of those things where it's like the ones who have been there, like have been there, but it's so hard, I still find, of like, you know what I mean? And it's like,
I do too. Like I sometimes still every once in a while I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll find myself and it'll like
Yeah, it
I'll
hits
get a
you.
personal. I'll feel personal or like, oh, you're training with them and not me or
Right.
whatever, or or
it's easy to be resentful.
it is.
Yeah.
But then it's like in that, as you get older too,
Yeah.
I will have like 1 second of that, and then I'm like,
Yes.
oh, I ain't got time for that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
also, it's just like, well, stop. If whatever they are doing is working for them,
Yes.
go.
Then that's all that matters.
Then that is all that matters.
Yes.
That I am here to support you.
Yeah.
And if I can do anything else to support you,
Yes.
like
Then, yeah.
then also amen.
Right.
And that's what I tell people as far as running.
Yeah.
I'm like, get a running coach
Yeah.
for one race.
Yes.
It does not have to be me.
Right.
But get a running
you need
coach.
one.
But
Yes.
please, like,
Yep.
do that.
And
You know,
that-
so
and no, for sure. And that's the thing too, is like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's hard not to get resentful. That's something that I've had to, on my walk
Yeah.
with God and with my spirit and everything, and trying to just like live in the spirit. I have had to really step away from like dwelling in that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you feel like, and in what you said, actually, when you talked about like how like you've been watching from afar, it really parallels with a lot of people who will like randomly drop in and message me and be like, Dani, like I found one of your bands today and I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I have been going through this. And anyway, and they're like, you have such a greater reach than what
Yeah.
you even know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like you don't have
don't.
that.
You-
and
I know,
then,
but you do.
But you do. Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, and then, oh, well, you know, you don't have clients lining at the door coming to you, or you don't have people sign up for your online program or whatever
Yeah.
it is. And so it can get into this toxicity of like not one believing in yourself, but
Yeah.
then being like, oh, should I even like question? I've never questioned like my purpose and what I'm here to do,
Yeah.
but I've questioned how I do it.
Yeah.
Is there a better way?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, y'all see me drink fight every day, but yet like, you know, but then the sales are down.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah. Like,
okay,
what
like,
is-
like, how do I get that reach or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So do you
And,
feel,
like-
yes. So it's less about other people than it is about my own
No,
work.
of course, of
And
course.
that's where I think people get it twisted.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, we out here trying to compete or we're trying to whatever. And it's like, you're irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, it's not like, especially when I first went, you know, even when I was at like next level or whatever, I'm like, they can have that body or they can have those traditionals or whatever, but they're not me.
Yeah.
So like, if you want to work with them, like, so that's why I never got like,
Like,
felt like someone's gonna take my client
Yeah.
or like what I was like, if you want to go, then go.
No.
But like at the end of the day, like I know what I bring to the table
Yeah.
and who I am, and there's only one of me.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's a reason why that person is with you. And
Yes.
it's also like it could be a season.
Yes,
Also. And that
exactly.
is also okay. Which I
Yeah.
have been like, that is also okay. I might be a season for someone.
For sure.
And then they might need a season of
Which
something
is
else.
hard.
It
It's hard
is
for
hard.
sure. But when you realize that like that it's okay, it's like okay, like I don't know.
It's freeing.
Yes, because on the first few years of my business, I did not understand that.
No.
But then I would say probably about 2021, yeah, is when because I started having clients that move away.
Yeah.
So they would do like online and they were like, hey, I'm good. Like you've taught me, like I can do this on my own.
Yeah,
You know,
like,
and
I
then
don't
like
need it.
and yeah, and they're like, I
You're like,
would
well,
love
you don't need me anymore.
well, yeah, but they're like, I would love to work with you, but I'll support by doing a challenge or I'll buy a fight or I'll just like, they're still a part of the community, you know,
Yeah.
or they'll wear a shirt at the gym. And I'm like, that's a part of the community.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so there's so many ways I try listening to this podcast as a part of the community, sharing it, subscribing
Yeah.
on YouTube. Like that is so impactful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people all the time, like, you don't have to pay me money directly.
No.
But like, that's great. But like, but there's other ways you can spread this mission.
Yeah.
Talking kinder to yourself so then your daughter sees. Like talking kinder to your partner so then
Yeah.
he has a vulnerable space where he can communicate
Yeah.
better. Like all of those things.
It's like at the end of the day, and this is something that another thing that I really learned stepping away is same thing with music. It's like, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares that, or nobody knows that I wrote this song for Rascal Flatts on
Mm-hmm.
this album. Like no, Joe out in Montana is not looking up that, oh, Megan Connor was a writer on
Right,
this.
right, yeah.
He doesn't care. He thinks Rascal
Yeah.
Flatts wrote it. No one knows.
Right.
People in Nashville maybe care a little bit, but not really that much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, look, you have to be okay with having an impact sometimes in a different way.
Yes.
And then also for me, I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, when everything is all said and done,
Right.
can I just say that I did my best?
Yeah.
Can I just say, can these people come and just say, she tried?
Yeah.
She made a difference in my life. This is what, this is what she did at some,
She had an impact.
some
Yeah.
kind of impact, whether or not it was music or fitness or whatever it was,
Yeah.
or running or just that is what, and sometimes it's hard because I feel like I'm not doing enough, or
Right.
it's not, or you see it go up and down, and,
Right.
and you're like, oh, I need to do more. And
Right.
that's what's hard.
That is what's hard for sure.
But I think also, like, going back to leaving and then coming back, it's also been like with that intention is trying to find, first of all, getting around people that you love.
Yeah.
Building the community with the people you love, figuring out, like, that's kind of what I've been doing as far as music and fitness, is like dipping my toe.
Yeah.
And just being like, what are you doing?
Right.
Are you the same? Are you different? Are
Right.
what are you doing? And it's like, if it doesn't feel good, or if it's not happy, or say no to it.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Which you can.
you can say no.
Yes, and you don't
it's
have to just follow
you
in
don't.
suit.
And it's kind of like, as far as music, if you're not in the room, you don't need to say yes to doing all these things.
Yes.
And writing with all these people
Yep.
that are not going to get, that you
Just
don't
because
have
it's an
to-
opportunity
just
doesn't mean
because.
it's your opportunity.
Or because it's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
But say yes to the things
Yeah.
that ignite your fire.
Yes, I love
Say
that.
yes to the people that
Yeah.
ignite your fire, or the people that when you get in a room,
Yeah.
that you light up.
Yeah.
Like, that is when, because at the end of the
Yes.
day, you might not end up with a great song, or even you might have, you're always going to have a good workout, but
Yeah.
it might not be the workout that changes your life.
Right.
But you're going to end up walking away better because of that.
Yes. And I think it's really important that you said about acknowledging the fact that, like, just because not everyone saw that you put your name on that song, or, that you were the writer of that song, that your purpose was still fulfilled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think too many people now are wanting that limelight and that spotlight and whatever, even more aggressive than before. And, or, whatever it is, because we're all, a lot of times, and what I've seen from most people and what you're talking about on Instagram and stuff, is that, like, there's so much insecurity right now. There's so much just self negativity, hatred, all these things that people are kind of grasping at straws, you know? And so that's where it's like building healthier, happier people.
Yeah.
And is key. And I believe that starts with movement.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that, because movement has been that thing for me.
Yeah.
And it, and it saved me from making horrible decisions, and from, just not living my best life.
Yeah.
Right. And so it changes everything.
better person.
And it does, no matter what that movement is or what that looks like.
Yeah.
But knowing that, like, whatever God's purpose is for you, and moving forward in that.
Yeah.
And that's why too, like, even with stuff that I'm looking at, doing now, like, I always joke and I'm like, yeah, like, I want to be on Survivor. Like, I want to be on Good Morning America. Like, like all those things. And I think it'd be so cool. But those are for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want to do those things, but, like, yes, I want to represent and, like, the mission, and I do that and embody that and whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, that would just be super cool,
For
and
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, it doesn't depict, like, if I don't, when it, like, however long that takes, or whatever it
No.
is, or that I'm not doing enough. And that is something that I think that a lot of, like, especially strong females and
Yeah.
independent females deal with, is that the whole underlying, we talked about this on the other podcast, like, and pretty much every time we talk about not feeling good enough.
Yeah.
So with with coming back to it and being able to step away and having boundaries, do you feel like more successful in everything you're doing right now in terms of being good enough?
Yeah.
And, like, yeah.
I mean, honestly, and I feel like I know what my worth is,
Yeah.
and I don't really care
Yeah.
if people don't want to write with me. I'm like, okay, you're missing out,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's kind of that's kind of that's kind of how,
Yeah, that's the beauty in it.
and just like what you said, I just released that little song because I wanted to do it for myself. It's something
Yes,
that
and I love that.
wanted to do. It's not, I'm not trying to, like, be an artist. I'm not trying to, but in the process of doing
Yeah.
that for myself, because I said, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I have learned so much.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I'm like, oh, okay. I don't like all of this like self promotion, like,
Yeah.
oh, listen to my song, or like,
Oh, yeah.
download my song,
Yep.
or like that, the artist kind of the stuff.
Yes.
That is not my jam.
Right.
And so it has been so interesting to see where the music business is now, and then having to release a song in this environment,
Yeah.
and then learning also about it's teaching me about what is authentic to
Right.
just me. The authenticity, I think it's really taught me a lot about like who I am, and
Yeah.
what I like to say on social media.
Yeah.
Not so much like, oh,
What
look
you
at
feel
me.
like you have to say.
Yeah. And what I don't want to say it just because the world wants me to say it.
Yes.
Like, you need to say,
Yeah.
you need to go pre-save my song.
I
No,
know.
I don't care. No.
Right.
I want to say why I'm releasing,
Yes.
and all of this. So in the wanting to do something for yourself,
Yeah.
I think there are beautiful lessons
Yeah.
in that.
For sure.
So whether that is, doing a show like you did, releasing a song,
Yeah.
running a marathon,
Yep.
like whatever that is, if you stay true to that and you see it through and you do it in the right way,
Yeah.
and you just see it through, you're
Yes.
going to learn
So much.
So much.
And that's like kind of the theme that I do with this podcast about like stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Of like continuing to do that, because after COVID, like I even resorted like to being more isolated and more
Yeah.
and even with the shows. I mean, for like 2 years, like I just trained and that was it. Like
Yeah.
that's all I did. And, I didn't go on a date. I didn't, well, towards the end, whatever. But like on that one. But for the most part, didn't go on a date. Like there was just stuff that I missed out on.
Yeah.
I didn't spend a lot of time with family and all things. And I'm just like now, looking at it of like, one, your health is the most important thing. And so we're gonna talk about with your injuries and stuff with running.
Yeah.
But also knowing that like it is on your path, and knowing that you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. It doesn't have to look a certain way or this or that, but like doing it as authentically and as real as you can.
Yeah.
And creating those spaces, because when people look up to you or people look up to me or whatever, and they can see that, then my hope is that then they can do it too.
Oh, for sure.
And stop living in this secular like bullshit, honestly,
No,
of
yes.
like of the nonsense.
Or
And-
like this Instagram life where
Yes.
everything is perfect.
Right.
And that's the thing too, is I tell people, my clients or whatever, if you're running a marathon or you're running or you're doing this like incredible thing
Yeah.
or whatever, share your journey.
Yes.
And like even the ugly parts, because
Yeah,
it's
especially the ugly parts.
Yeah.
If somebody could have told me that an autoimmune disorder would cause my eye to be blurred for the rest of my life, like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I would have maybe taken it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
stress. And when people talk about stress, and I would have looked at things different. Again, I learned a lot since it's happened. So it's like fine, whatever, and I'm good with it. But it's one of those things of like, it's just that no one ever talked about that stuff.
Yeah.
Or with bodybuilding, what could
Yeah.
happen or whatever, all the things. So so that's what I was gonna ask you, because I got injured in 2020. That was with my leg, and it's been numb, whatever, and all that stuff. So with your running, I think I remember seeing you in a boot, right?
Ooh,
or
girl.
like what
Yeah.
could have happened?
Oh, geez.
Like, have you had surgeries?
No,
Okay.
no, not surgeries. Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
But no, let's see what happened. So I used to be a good runner. So I didn't grow up.
You are a good runner.
No,
What do you
no.
mean?
I did not grow up athletic at all. Like
Okay.
I never was athletic. I was
Okay.
like choir drama nerd girl.
Oh yeah. Okay, so acting, theater.
Yeah,
yes, all
acting
that
theater.
stuff.
And so I kind of found running. I started jogging in college,
Yeah.
just around campus, and in high school just a little bit, because my high school sweetheart was a crazy runner, and I
Okay,
was
so
like,
you have a kind of a type.
I have a type, yeah.
Okay. Got it. Got
Yes,
it.
you see, you know me. And so he's really the one that got me into running, and then. Yeah, I don't really know how I think I signed up for a race.
Yeah.
And then I ran it, and then I was like, oh, I can kind of run.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I can kind of run, fast, but
Right.
not, for a normal sized girl. I'm not like one of those like little stick figure runner girls, and
You're beautiful, by the way. You have great build.
thank you, girl. Thank you. But I never was, I don't know. And I never was super duper fast, but decently. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then I don't know, just started, you 5K and then then a 10K, and then a half, and then, and then a marathon. So I was running a marathon once, had no idea what I was doing. And then someone was like, are you trying to qualify for Boston? And I was like, what's that? I had no idea. I had no idea what Boston was.
Okay, yeah.
So I finished the marathon and I went back and Googled Boston.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I had missed it by 2 minutes.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I was like, oh, okay, I think I could do this.
Yeah.
So I went back to another one, and then I ended up getting just an IT band injury.
Oh, okay.
And not being able to finish that marathon. And so I came back. I'm trying to like think of how everything, I'm trying to like give you like the quick version of all this.
So you did.
I came back, and then I was like, I'm never going to be able to run a marathon again because the IT band,
Right.
it can be a thing that you deal with for a
Yeah.
while. And I had run my first marathon for the Liver Foundation in memory of my stepdad who passed away from liver cancer.
Oh, wow.
So they contacted me and said, do you want to run Boston?
Oh, that's awesome.
You have to you raise money and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to run Boston. I'm going to run it for charity. It's going to be my last marathon.
Yeah.
And then, then I'll have done Boston.
Yeah.
And so I raised the money
Nice.
and I went and did it, and I finished it, and then it was bombed.
Oh my gosh.
So 15 minutes after I crossed the line, it was
No
bombed. I was
way.
2 blocks away. I was bent over getting my race bag, and then it was just a huge bomb.
Megan,
And yeah, did you know
what?
this?
No, I didn't
yeah.
know this.
Yeah. And then,
I mean, I remember the bombing, but I didn't know that she was there.
yeah. And then, and so I thought it was coming from above. I thought it was,
Oh, you something in the sky.
I thought it was bombs from the sky.
Oh my gosh.
So I kept looking up, and then 20 seconds later, there was another one. And so then 2 blocks away, it was like, poof, and you could see. So I have chills.
Yeah, me too.
My phone was dead. My phone was almost dead
Yeah,
because it had been on
Yes.
the whole time while I was running. People were texting like, "Oh, I saw you finished," and I got out one text and said, "Bombs went off. Everybody freaking out."
Yeah.
To one of my friends, and then my phone died.
More chills. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And so I made it back to the hotel. Everyone was freaking out. The hotel I was staying at was where the press conferences and everything was. And so, anyways, my mom and aunt and everybody, they had come to watch me. They were back at the hotel. We left. We got out of the city because everyone was thought that it might happen.
Yeah.
And they were looking for them. And meanwhile, I had just run a marathon, and you have to walk really
yeah.
far after you're done
Yes.
through the shoot, and then back to the hotel. And then they were like, okay, we're gonna have to walk a couple more miles to get back to the car. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we did. We got back, and then long story short, I was like, that's not how my Boston is going to end.
Yeah.
And so I came back, and I hired a coach, Dave Milner, and then he got me to Boston.
Wow.
So I trained, and
And then the next year?
and I think it was. I can't remember the timeline, or if it was, I think I qualified the next year, but then you run it the year after.
What's the qualification? Like the time?
I think I had to run a 3:35. So I think I ran a 3:34. So you always want to, I'm not great at running full marathons fast because my IT band will just give out. But I think that's like around an 8-minute mile.
That's great.
But yeah, so the older you get, the slower you get to go.
Okay.
So
that's a little nice to know for anybody listening. Wanting to run.
So you can look up what the qualifications keep getting harder and harder because there's so many people trying to get in.
I'm sure. Yeah. But
So
that's incredible.
Yeah, incredible. So that was amazing. And then, so then I came back and ended up just, doing a bunch of races back here. And I went to Spain and did this crazy thing, trails, which I'm not a trail runner.
Okay.
And before I left, I ended up breaking my foot, which I did not know. And I went to Spain and I ran on it the whole time.
A broken foot. Yeah.
Yeah. And a nasty place where you don't want to break it called your sesamoid, which I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
Which is a tiny bone responsible for all of the weight bearing in and usually ballerinas and sprinters will
get that.
Yeah. So I broke that. And if you break that, there's no like healing from
Fear
it.
the worst. Yeah. Like I still deal with an injury from when I dropped a plate on my like metatarsal. Like like right there. And like it will lock up sometimes. And I'm like, okay, can't go in heels right now. Like, and it's just that you just can't, there's nothing to do.
Yeah. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So in this particular bone, there's nothing. You can either remove it or you just deal with it. So I have not run a marathon since.
Okay.
I have my first full coming up in November, which is
exciting.
I know.
Which one is that?
It's called the Every Woman's Marathon.
Let's go.
Oh, no.
I love it. Where is that at?
It's in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
I'm running it for Milk, sponsored by Purity Dairy. Oh my gosh, amazing.
Let's go. Okay.
Amazing. And it's the first all women's marathon.
I love that.
I am obsessed.
How did that come about? The sponsor and everything.
They just found me. I don't know. And I was like, this is my dream.
Right.
I got to give away a free entry and a free trip.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, this is like my dream. I'm like, I love you so much.
That's epic.
So,
if they need a warm up person, let me know. Because I've been warming up people for 5K.
I will.
Gosh. That's awesome.
But I just, they have been so amazing.
Good.
And I cannot wait. And it is definitely not going to be my best marathon, but that's
okay.
No,
it doesn't have to
totally
be.
fine.
This is gonna be epic. It's gonna be for a good cause, and I love that.
It's amazing.
Have you August 10th? Have you heard about the Aruna project, like the run? So it's for enslaved women, and I'm sponsoring it. And so if you want to be on Team Danny D or make your own team or whatever,
Am I here?
know. I'll send you the information.
Okay.
But it's
Send
a
me-
5K, and so it's like it'll be really good. But you're like running for a specific woman, like the ones you sign up and stuff. So it's gonna be super cool.
I love that.
But I'm doing the Move Fit warm up, and then we're gonna have like a fight station and all that. So it'll be sick.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say because as we're closing out and everything, like so much has happened. So let me ask you this. So now you're in Sylvan Park, you said.
Yeah.
And boyfriend still.
Yep, we live together.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
so he
here.
followed you back.
He followed me. He's here.
Look at that. He's like, I can run anywhere.
Yeah, he's like, we can run. Yeah, he's got a job. He's got a job where he can do it from anywhere. So
That's so awesome.
So he's here.
I love that.
He's Swedish.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Weird language.
Very.
No idea.
He's like, but he's great to look at. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just kidding.
fine.
I'm sure he's awesome. But yeah. So then, okay. So tell me this. When? By the way, I wanted to ask this earlier. When's your birthday? Like what?
September 20th.
Okay.
Yeah.
What Enneagram are you? Do you know?
Girl, I do not know. I took that one time and like 3 people have asked me and I remember some numbers and I need to
retake it. I'd be interested to see just because like
I feel like what are you? Because
I'm an Enneagram like 8. So it's like
I feel like we might be like maybe similar.
Yeah. So it's basically like very outspoken, the people who all study Enneagram are like, Dani, stop talking about this. But like, I know the generic, it's like me essentially. Like I feel things very deeply, but also like I'm very real with things, very just like take it at face value or whatever. But no, I just was wondering about that because when you said about that of like how it kind of hits us hard, like in this industry, you know, it's, it is something that I feel like a lot of female trainers and people like coming up and stuff like that, like have to understand, like one, boundaries, don't let people run over you.
Yeah.
Two, there's always going to be somebody else. Like even if you have to let go of a negative
Yeah.
person, like don't stay in it
Yeah.
just because whatever, because I've been talked to very poorly before. I've been treated very, just
Yeah.
negatively. And it's just like, that's not, you don't have to do that.
No.
And I know you think that you do, and, because people are in different circumstances, but like it will allow, like once you've stepped back, like how you're talking about with
Yeah.
all of this, like kind of that parallel of like once you step back, like you will jump 10 steps forward.
Yeah. And it's like, it's okay if it's like we're human beings.
Yes,
like,
but people don't see you as that sometimes.
But feel what you're feeling. If
Yeah.
you're feeling it, feel it, acknowledge it, and then say something about it, and then step back and maybe be like, maybe I was wrong, or maybe there's room for everybody, or
Yeah.
maybe there's a way that we can work together, or
Yes.
there's always like there's some kind of bigger thing. And I feel like as humans, the main thing is like, we need to be like, oh, look, we can be humans and we can have that like,
Yeah.
oh,
Right.
that moment, but then like, go back, move forward,
Yes.
or go back and realize like, you know what? I was wrong in
Yeah.
that second,
Right.
or like, let's
Right.
like,
And also like that's what's been so hard. I mean, I don't know about like for you, but like for me of like people treating like Dandy Fitness
Yeah.
a certain way.
Yeah.
And then like Danielle another way.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of had that like, interesting pull of even when it comes to romantic stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like sometimes there's like the eyes will like light up and I'm like, and whatever. And then it's like, but then when it's not about business or it's not
Yeah.
about them like moving forward or not, whatever, like, it's like the last guy that I like dated, like that was his whole mission was like basically be like he could like date Danny D.
yeah.
And it's like, that's
about-
upsetting.
it's me.
But yeah, exactly. So it's like, same person, but okay.
I am Danny D.
But yeah. So it's just like, it can be frustrating. And so I feel like the more that you are in the spotlight, the more that like that people see things, like they kind of assume things
Yeah.
about you and whatever. And so
Yeah.
going on that, talking about like the being real on social media, like I love that. Like
Yeah.
don't put out stuff if you don't feel like, if it's not on your heart to say it or not to
No.
put out. And like for me, I'm an oversharer. I mean, I know that. Like, but my whole point is that I know that by saying this, it's as someone watching, it will help them. And nobody wants, you know what I mean? And nobody wants to talk about those things.
Yes.
And they're scared or they're whatever. And I'm like, truly, and whatever, it's like, if you go back on any of my stuff, you can find out any part of my journey.
Yeah.
If you want to know who the person I refer to about me losing in 2020, if you want to know about, past relationships, I talk about stuff. If you want to know about my injury, you want to know who my last coach was with all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
but it just
Go,
takes,
it's there.
it takes a second to look it
Yeah.
up, or to listen to the beginning podcast or whatever it is. So that's why sometimes I get so frustrated because I'm like, I feel like I put so much out there.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, guys, it's there.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just even ask me. So that's why I always try to be transparent and be like, guys, like if you want to know something, or even if you have questions about my business, or if you have questions about what this looks like, please DM me. Please
Yeah.
reach out.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
And I feel like some people sometimes are
Like,
like, oh,
connect.
yes.
Yeah.
They're so afraid to do that. Or like,
Yeah.
or this. I get this all the time. Well, I just thought you were so busy.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm like,
I am, but
I am, but also like, would you say that to a male trainer?
yeah. Yeah.
Like, would you say it to the ones that are coaching 200 plus people? Like, you don't say it to them.
Yeah.
But like, you think that you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, guys, like, I do a lot, but I do a lot of the things that I love to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to record another podcast after this. But again, like, it's what I love to do.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's the same thing with working out and like all of that. So it's, again, I don't put people in a box, so I don't appreciate being put in a box.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
think that sometimes people can look at, like you especially too, in that role. So what is something
for
that
sure.
what is something that like you're, as being back in here, kind of like on the scene again, all these things, like what is something that you are most looking forward to? Like,
Ooh.
like, are you like, I'm out here like doing things differently, so I'm just like living that better life? Or is it like you're like, man, I have something coming up that I'm really excited about, like that's like I know you have the marathon.
I think the
November.
marathon. I think just being just kind of like what you said. the authentic, intentional person.
Yeah.
I think that is, it's still being human.
Yes.
It's like, look, I am going to up.
Yeah.
I am going to mess up.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something that I don't mean. Or I'm
Yep.
going to be mean at sometimes. I'm going to do something bad.
100%.
I'm going to be a biatch. Like, there's going to be times where I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
But it's like, I want to try to do the best I can. I want to help.
That's all
the
anyone's
people.
doing.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope.
Yeah. That should be what
I feel
they're
like
doing.
that's what it should be what they're doing,
Yes.
or at least trying.
Yes.
But I think it's just like the excitement of just the opportunities that of just creating,
Yeah.
whether it's fitness, whether it's running,
Yeah.
whether it's music, authentically. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And a purpose. In a purpose.
And I love that you have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
You know, because you could have easily, someone listening to this may have stepped away for maybe, 5 years.
Yeah.
Or 7 years. And they're like, they don't know if
You
they can come back.
And you can. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's like if you need a break, like you can.
And it doesn't make you weak either.
No, definitely. And some people are like, you're never going to be, you can't ever come back. You can't ever go back.
Well, because they think that it's linear. Like you have,
Yeah.
that's not linear. Like even with her talking about her injury and like with me talking about my injuries, like I had to start all over.
Yeah.
Like it's not linear.
No.
And so that idea that like you have to progress in that way is not realistic.
No.
And that is what's killing people.
No,
Like,
and that's the thing is like that also taught me a beautiful thing. And that's what like coaching on, look, I've run Boston. I used to be fast.
Yeah.
I also now just appreciate being able to go for a really
Yes.
slow ass run.
Right.
Like I don't care how fast I am.
Yeah.
I can walk and run. And like seeing both of those sides, like I can coach someone that can
Yeah.
run a 5-minute mile. I can coach someone that can run an 11-minute mile
Yeah.
or 16-minute mile.
which
like,
is huge. Yeah. I love that.
it's like there's all of that and there's
Yeah.
beauty in all of that. And
Yes.
seeing like that's what life is. And it's not that you have to moving forward is not always I have to get skinnier, I have to get faster,
Right.
I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yeah.
It as you become older and you learn it's just it
Yeah.
becomes different.
It
And
does.
looking back is not always helpful.
Right. And that's the thing too, is like, I hope that everyone listening really takes that to heart because again, we're saying these things so that you, if you're 22 listening to this, if
Yeah.
you're, 25, 30, whatever, that you can take this and like, and start integrating it into your life right
Yeah.
now. Versus, because I always was like rolling my eyes when people were like, oh, like burnout's real or
No idea.
oh, you're whatever, and I didn't think I was like that.
No.
But then I remember just being like, they were right. Like, and that's, you know what I mean? And I was like,
this is me now. And
Right.
also, just I'm older than you, but you never think you're gonna be the old person, and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, I'm the old person.
Yeah.
In the room, both in music and in fitness. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm almost mid 40s now. And I'm, but now it's like I'm working with all of the women that I've been working with for so
Yeah.
long. We're walking through this different part of life
Yeah.
that we're all starting to walk through.
Right.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many different things that we're learning about ourselves and different ways to go about it. And
Right.
and it's just like, I don't know.
It's so special.
Yeah. And
It doesn't have to be a bad thing, like when people talk about like
no.
yes.
And moving forward, like it's not always it's sometimes requires those 2 steps back to get
Right.
those steps forward.
and also your version and your reality of your reality that you're creating can be your reality, and that'd
Yeah.
be just fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be what everyone expects of you. It doesn't have to be what they
No.
think that you should be doing or by this age or whatever,
No.
all that stuff. So I love seeing it. And I love seeing you stick with your heart and your intention and what you're meant to do. And I will say that being able to come back to everything, I think
Amazing.
takes place because you made an impact on people and you help them out in a time like, like I said, like I'll never forget that I needed that in 2017 and just we needed somebody to believe in this mission and come to this event and you barely knew me or whatever, and then like to do that meant so much even all these years later. And I'm just like, I'm coming on 7 years of my business, so like 7 years ago, and like, but you still had that impact, and that's what's super cool. I mean, not to be like whatever, but like that's great that you have a song out and like all that stuff, but that's not like the accolades of why I wanted you on. And it was genuinely just like your name is continually being brought up, so I feel like God's like putting you like kind of like so I hope that today you could come in like feel like this was a safe space and just amazing to talk and like feel good and like and share your message and everything. And so I do want to ask you, because I love to ask everybody, like, what is something that you love about your body today?
I thought you were going to ask me what I love about you, and I was going to be like, well, here's the list. Your hair, your legs, how much you're so strong. Like,
tell me all things about
the way that you. Well, first of all, I already forgot like what you asked me, but I will just also have to. You're gonna have to re-ask that. But I just want to say, like, let's stop for 5 seconds and just say, I just want to thank the Lord and also you for just how you have just for the message. I'm gonna try to not get emotional, but the message that you have put out for especially women to just love your body. Like, I keep saying as we get old, you'll get there one day, Dani. But it's just something that like we need to talk about more. And it's so important. And you have been such like a poster child, a role model in every like everything that you've done, and that has been something that's so consistent, like your brand and the whole thing. And just like, thank you for always being true to that. Of course. And that's been amazing. Okay. So what did you ask me?
Thank you so much for that. That means so much, Megan. I like literally that is my whole purpose, like, is for people to see that.
Literally telling someone yesterday about you, and I was like, you haven't heard of Dani D? I was like, where have you been? Who are you? And I was like,
have you been under a rock?
I was like, what? Where have you been? You have lived here and you have not heard of Dani D. Hold on, get on here right now. And I was like, this is what she's done. So anyways,
well, thank you. I appreciate that so much. And that's like, seriously, I tell my girls all the time that I'm like, guys, this can be a well-kept secret, but like, let's not make it a secret.
No.
Like, let's like tell people, tell your friends, tell your whoever, like that is only going to grow the message. Like, I'm only one person. My Instagram can only reach so many people. Like, there's only so much I can do. So it truly, to create real sustainable change, it is people like you, and it's other people who see the message, understand it, and are like, wow, this needs to be something that's important. And that we talk about. And so that's why, like, with the Love Your Body Initiative and all these different things, like, asking all different types of bodies. And that's why I wanted to ask you, like, what is something that, like, you love about your body?
Oh. Well, everybody always comments on my legs.
Yes, great legs. Yep, great legs.
But the legs are fine. Again, as we're getting older, we're definitely seeing changes. But it's amazing. Like, I kind of am loving those changes, and you care less about things as you get older. So I'd say my legs, and I would say my heart too, because it really has like taught me my legs and my heart.
Those are great things.
They get me. They both get me places. They both get me. They both have gotten me a lot of places, and I think the legs have gotten me a lot of places physically. And I feel like the heart, it's like that's probably the thing that has taught me the most. It's like, if you just be the genuine, real person, and you're like, I'm gonna be a bitch, I'm gonna be an asshole, I'm gonna be this every once in a while, I'm gonna say I'm sorry, I'm gonna apologize, I'm not perfect, but if you try as hard as you can, people are gonna see that, and you're going to get so much further in life. It might not always be monetarily, but like at the end of the day, you're going to be rich in what matters. So,
I love that. That was beautiful. And thank you again for coming on today. And yes, of course. No, like, again, like I said, I would love to actually like sit and hang out and like talk and more and like
have like coffee
and or have some fight. And
let's get high on bike.
I know we're about to, but we'll go on to a quick little Patreon episode, and so everybody can, if they want to subscribe, they can go check that out now, and we can talk a little bit more about some stuff. So
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. Until next time, guys.
Bye.